Wanye, I think I would guard the massive escalator up to the second floor of Rogers Place.
I hate to break the fishing news after Ramchuck, but I'd like to speak about the ice hockey.
Congratulations, you're one of the 13 listeners of the Real Life Podcast.
We just traded a migraine in for like an orgasm.
Might want to mark that down.
Yep. All of my projects are on schedule until they're not.
A member of the Nation Network of Podcasts.
About as funny as we're going to get today.
Episode 249 of the Real Life Podcast, and it's a loaded one. This is going to be a ton of fun. Tyler Yaremchuk's here, Bag Milk's here, Jay's here, Wanye's here, and we're going to be joined by a couple of guests today. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we're going to be joined by David Arrigo. And if you're sitting there going, I don't know who that is, he's the guy who painted Mike Smith's new mask. He's done a bunch of masks for guys around hockey. He did one for the World Juniors this year as well. He's done some artwork with the NHL. We'll be plugging his Instagram on the Real Life Podcast's Instagram as well. Go check it out. He does some cool stuff, but he's going to stop by and we're going to ask him just some questions about working. Like, how does someone get into the business of painting goalie masks? That fascinates me. We're also going to be joined by Scott Hastings from OddsShark coming up towards the end of the show as well. Before we do that, and before I let anyone else talk, I need to say that this podcast is brought to you by Oodle Noodle. Proceeds from every single in-store and curbside pickup order go towards local charities. They've already raised $100,000, and you can help them raise more, and you can help yourself not be hungry because Oodle Noodle is delicious. Wanye, Bagged Milk, Jay, that win last night. I'm going to go to Wanye first because he's running the Twitter account. And now because he's running the Twitter account, I feel like he's the, he should be the only one allowed to comment on the games.
Holy mackerel.
Last night's win was not sexy. Are you okay with that?
I'm fine with that. It's all good. It was a very boring win, but a win's a win, and who gives a shit?
I think that's bang on. Like, to me, like, we all wanted them to play better defensively, and they did play better defensively. And then people were like, well, they didn't dominate the Leafs, so it's not a good win. Jay, do you care at all, or you just want 2 points?
No, I didn't care at all. The guys went back to basics. A boring game is going to be the result. We went to Toronto and we won, and that's all that matters. And hopefully we can just build off of this and start creating some momentum.
Sometimes I feel like an ugly win can actually help your confidence a lot. Like when you dominate and beat a team, it's kind of like, this is going to be easy. But when you grind out a win like that and just squeak it out, it's kind of like, okay, we got that one. Now we know that if we play better next game, like it's going to be another 2 points. Bag Milk, what were the people saying on the Beatcast?
I think everybody was just happy to get a win after back-to-back losses that the team just didn't really look good. I was wondering how long it was going to be before we were going to see a real Dave Tippett shutdown style game that we used to always get with the Coyotes when he was there. And last night I felt like that's what it looked like. It was boring. It was defensive or offensively devoid at most times, but you know what? 2 points are 2 points, and who gives a shit? All that matters is the standings.
And the standings, I don't know if anyone's checked them recently, but they're a little fucked up. It's basically like Ottawa has 3 points. They're in last, but they've only played 3 games. Like points percentage wise, it's incredibly tight. And I think it's exactly what we expected. And this year is going to be a roller coaster, and it's proving true. But there's talk that Matthews might not play tomorrow for the Leafs. And
why? What's going on with him?
Keefe just said he didn't feel right last game or something like that. Keefe worded it like really odd and said he's like a game time decision, basically. Oilers could get back James Neal as well. Like, again, I'm trying not this year to like live and die with every win and loss because I feel like I'll go insane if that happens. But I'm feeling really good about this team, and I was not feeling really good 24 hours ago. What's up, Jay?
Can we talk? Oh, first of all, I got to say, send some appreciation Wanye's way. The Twitter account is a very fun follow.
Oh yeah,
the helm, well done. Oh yeah, it's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing the wild randomness back. It's entertaining.
Well, I'm fighting with half a dozen people on any given tweet. I've got a few enemies, but I've followed them all. So let's just make this frenemy relationship real, people. You can troll me. Yeah. I don't care.
But I kind of want to talk just a little bit about Connor's physicality.
Yeah.
Like he is going out, he is finishing his checks, he's looking for the hit, he's jumping in the scrum or leading the scrum. I can't remember who it was. Oh, was it Draisaitl? Draisaitl kind of got into it a little bit, kind of skated away.
Right at the end of a period.
McDavid came in and gave the guy a little business, and I'm like, fuck, we've got a mad Connor on our hands. Like, it's not He's not getting like the crazy points right now, but I'm just loving this fire that he's bringing to the season.
Through 4 games or 3 games, he had like 9 hits already. And you can tell just watching, like, he's not flying by. And there are some guys on this team that are doing a lot of flybys, Zach Cassian, that shouldn't be. Oh. But Connor McDavid's definitely leading by example in terms of like the physicality side of things.
100%. Now, thank you for bringing up Zach. Dude, you signed your ticket, but man, come and do your job.
Okay, but here's what concerns me. Here's what concerns me with Cassian is that in his first go around with the Oilers, they got him. He was lights out. They gave him a 2-year contract. And in the first year of that contract, he was brutal. Like, he was not good. Remember, the Oilers gave him permission to go find a trade. That's how bad he was in November. And then it's contract time. He plays really well. He gets a deal. And now he's back to being rather pedestrian for the majority of this season so far. And it's concerning. And people are going to go, oh, well, no crowds are really hurting his ability to get into the game. Don't care, dude. No crowd. There's no crowds for everyone. That your job is to bring energy and score the 2-on-1s. He's not doing either.
Yeah.
Pardon me, nuts.
So just something to keep watching.
Even the play on Matthews' goal last night, it was just a comedy of errors. First of all, Cassian got out-muscled on the boards. It didn't even, just gave it an old mail-in stick swipe. And then after that, Koskinen allowed the 1 goal last night was just gross. So it was a very tough play to swallow. And it started with Cassian just, in my opinion, looking like he's not engaged whatsoever right now.
Not at all.
I feel like these are very low energy games though so far. Like, there aren't huge hits. There's maybe some scrum behind the net, but nothing really of any significance.
We need to assert that. Like, we got to bring that energy.
Agreed.
Like, we should be.
Oh, I agree.
We can't let Montreal comes in that first game and it was kind of muscling us. Like, you got to fire back and fight fire with fire and start hitting and crushing guys.
You know who I was looking at the other day?
Frustrating.
The Joey Moss documentary. They talked to Rafi Torres. And Rafi was sitting there. He looks great. He's got a cool manicured beard and shit. Do you remember how that guy would just go out and absolutely rearrange somebody and change the entire course of the game?
Oh,
what was that hit in the San Jose series, right? Where he completely changed the tide. Probably should have gotten suspended.
Right along the blue line. Yeah, suspended forever. I think that we fondly remember plays like that and wish that Kara or Cassian was of that ilk. And occasionally they do it. But I swear, the last Oiler who would really make his presence felt and change the course of games, I swear no one's done it since Torres.
Well,
Cassian when he's on will do it.
Cassian in that San Jose series was a fucking factor. And I think when he's more engaged like that, the points and he'll start scoring more. Look at him in that series. I think it was Dylan, demolished him and a bunch of others and scores. I think, was that a shorthanded goal he scored when he did the face-to-face glass thing with the fan in the stands?
Yeah. Like that. He's like a wild man who's got his life together. He's like a guy who used to be wild and now he's pulled himself together personally and professionally. And that doesn't lend itself well to being an intimidator. Yeah,
but you got to figure it out then would be my thing. There are plenty of tough guys who have it figured out off the ice and have a family and all that. Just because you're a dad doesn't mean you should go beat the piss out of someone. Yeah.
You need to have a wild man if you want a wild man role. And I don't think we're getting Cassian hockey because we want him to chip the puck down the ice and play smart perimeter D or whatever the hell it is. We want him to go out there and fuck people up and get the nights where there is no energy. He takes it upon himself to put energy into the game. I hate to say it. You know who does it better than most anybody down Highway 2 is the certain curly-haired fellow.
Matt Tkachuk, and you love talking about your new friend Matt Tkachuk on this podcast.
I love Matt Tkachuk. It makes me feel terrible.
Just to add on to what Jay was saying about manufacturing that emotion, I'm looking at the score sheet from last night. Basically, the exact same amount of ice time. Josh Archibald had 6 hits. Zach Cassian had 2. Archibald's half the size, but he always has a motor that seems to go, and it seems like he's getting rewarded with, he got the empty netter last night, and that was just because of good positioning and hard work. There's no reason Zach Cassian couldn't do the same thing.
100%. Just go back to last year. Zach Cassian in the very first shift of that game against Colorado set the fucking tone and set the stage, telling Colorado and almost like, well, we ended up winning, but like solidifying the fact we were going to win that game when he blew up McKinnon.
Yeah.
Like we need that. We need that if we want to, because some of that stuff either sets the momentum for us, regains momentum when we've lost it. Like we need that presence, and we need like it's Nurse and him that are the two people that have got that ability. And I don't know why the fuck Nurse let up on that hit. He could have absolutely demolished Hyman. I think it was Hyman there, and I don't know why he let up. The fact that he pulled back was really weird.
Demolished the Hyman.
I think he was worried about a hit to the head.
I hope that's the case. I don't know if it would have been one, but if that was the case, I can appreciate it. But like that was on a tee.
Yeah.
You know, he's got an amazingly cool haircut. It's like kind of like a mullet. It's like shaved on the side, but long in the back. Matthew Tkachuk.
Oh. I got the long hair going right now. It's like poofing.
You're no Matthew Tkachuk, even on your best day, you're Rumcheck. How dare you? Look, I think I have a problem. I actually like an active flame. And that was okay with Jerome McGinley because of all the Canadian, but not Matthew Tkachuk. I'm becoming what I hate. This must be how Two-Face feels in Batman.
Fatherhood is changing you, maybe.
Oh, maybe I'm all nice now.
You're sympathetic. You understand
we need somebody.
Mackie.
I'm with you. We need somebody who's going to go out there and say, either A, this game is emotionless, or B, this game is headed in the wrong direction. And maybe I don't have what it takes to score a goal to reverse the scorecard, but I can make some momentum happen here. And I'm going to go run a guy through the glass. That's not too much to ask.
No, it's not. And to me, I don't really care all that much if Zach Kassian's scoring all the goals. But if he's not scoring and he's not producing physically, then what is he doing? He's not killing penalties.
Remember when Ryan Jones did this? Remember when Ryan Jones used to run guys over? And then they got a good ticket deal, and then all of a sudden he's a goal scorer. I think that you need to have a certain level of like hunger and desperation to like make every shift count. And maybe your Rumcheck's right. Maybe that shit only happens in a contract year.
Well, then that's a bummer because he's the kind of guy who, when he's on his game, it can be very effective and change things. And he should be crumpling guys up and sticking them in his bum. You know what I mean?
But he has to have a screw loose in my mind. When he goes in the penalty box after doing something awesome and one eye's pointed bug out and he's like, you know what I mean, yelling, that isn't keeping your emotions in check and playing disciplined hockey. You need that screw loose. I just feel like his screw is tight.
Maybe they need to just lock him in a cage pregame and start poking him with a stick.
Do you see my idea about making fans live in the stands at Oilers games? You see that idea on Twitter?
Yeah, I saw that. That was confusing.
What I thought we should do is to make the games more interesting, just release fans to live wild inside the arena for the whole season.
And all they can eat is the food in there?
Well, you could leave raw meats and they can attack for it. I assume very quickly they would fashion crude weapons and it would devolve into some sort of alliance system. But that's what I'm...
Well, yeah, we would need to be filming all of this because I would love to see a Rogers Play style Hunger Games happening.
Yeah.
By 2 or 3 weeks in, they're building shanties. It'd be amazing.
Chalmers is here. Chalmers comes in at an awkward point, but what did you think of the win last night?
I was happy, and I was not very faithful going into that game. And so I was really happy because if we came out of that game with a loss, I believe that even my panic would have set in just from the small things that I'm seeing. And that is in the sense of the way the team is playing, the fact that it doesn't seem like at any point they're really gaining the blue line with any sort of, set plays or momentum. They just it's a lot of dumping and chasing. It's a lot of the transition game looks like it's a mess right now. I saw they can't pass about 5 or 6 times where it got dumped in, and even a guy like Kassian would go in, and it was like he would get a stick on the puck, but no control, and the guy would just turn away from him. They'd break out. And I was like, if you're going to play dump and chase, and Kassian's not even going to get in there and bang a body and like really pin that puck against the boards and start a cycle, then what's the fucking point, right? And too many times I saw the transition game turn into one guy too far up, having to straddle the blue line, losing his momentum, a guy gaining the blue line with some speed, 2 other guys out of position, and absolutely no real structure to it.
We're going to pause the Oilers talk for just a second because we got a guest hopping on here. So best behavior, everyone, as I bring David Arrigo into the Real Life podcast. We're going to talk about the Mike Smith helmet in a second because it's a beautiful piece of work. But before we get into that, I'm just curious, how does someone get into the business of painting goalie masks? Like, what were kind of the steps you took to get into that?
Well, like with all the rest of my business and my life, it was very unconventional, to be honest with you. Because I've been working with the NHL for the better part of 20 years. I started off basically back in '99 when Gretzky was getting inducted to the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame asked me to do a large mural celebrating his induction. They brought me in there, where was the NHL had then seen me and asked me to do the NHL All-Star Game, which was in 2000 in Toronto. So I did a large mural for them there. And basically I did the All-Star Game every year after that. In 2008 or 9, I can't remember which one it was in Dallas, and I was doing a large painting there. And Mike Smith's father approached me and asked me if I was interested in doing a goalie mask. And at the time, I had no desire at all to get involved in business. I was busy enough. And he sort of he coaxed me along when he got back to Toronto, and he said, "Listen, let's hook up. Let's just do one mask." So I agreed to doing the mask for Smitty, and it was around the Christmas season. So we decided to come up with something special, which was the Grinch Mask, and it had the Grinch pulling off all the other teams' logos off the tree. I didn't really think about it, but we did a story with ESPN a couple of years ago, and that was literally probably one of the first seasonal masks, if you will. Like, we take it for granted these days that like every goalie has like 5 or 6 different masks and stuff like that. Back then it was basically one standard mask for most goalies. Like, there was no change ups and anything like that. So that mask got a lot of great attention, and Smitty was then traded over to Tampa. And, to say that we produced probably 5 or 6 masks a year would be an understatement. Like a great example is when we did the, at the time, Oren Koulis, the creator of Saw movies, he was one of the owners of Tampa Bay. And he reached out to me, and he's being friends with Smitty. They were having dinner. They said they wanted to do a Saw mask, like a Halloween themed mask. So, because there was a Saw movie coming out, but the crazy thing is that you got to be careful with advertisement in the NHL. So I did it I just took some scary scenes from the previous movies, put it on the mask. I didn't know this, but the other goalie, I can't remember who it was. His artist actually put on Saw coming out November. Wow. And then, literally like a day or two later, I get a call from New York office saying, "What the hell were you thinking?" I was like, "I didn't do that mask." So, and it just proceeded over the years. I've been fortunate enough that I've been working with guys like Carey Price, Brent Johnson, Brian Elliott, Anthony Yame. Like, I've had numerous goalies. I don't do as many as I have in the past. Goalies. Mike is probably one of the only goalies I'm working with these days. I've got a couple of other guys that will ask me for just one-off helmets. The problem I have is just the timing, because these guys need these helmets right away. And fortunately or unfortunately, my schedule doesn't allow for that because I do so much other things. Like, masks is a great part of my business, but it's a small part of my business. I really enjoy doing it, but at this point, I've got a lot of other things on the go.
So I've got a lot of questions about masks, and I've looked into your stuff, and it's not only limited to masks. There's a lot of shoes. There's a lot of your portraits and stuff. So you said that they need these masks quickly, and I'm going to jump to my very first question. How long does it take you to make one of those? So when Smitty comes to you with the idea and he tells you about the new mask that you want to make, from the time you start to the time it's finished, how long is that process?
Okay, well, first off, we're going to have to lay some parameters here. If I'm dealing with certain goalies, I can do it pretty quickly. Dealing with Smitty, it's a whole other world. He gets so involved in it. It's pretty humorous. Like, at some points, it's so frustrating, actually. And there's been a few years there over the summers that his wife would play buffer between us concepts. But off the start, we could... Like, if it need be, a mask could be literally turned around in a week if had to be. But with Smitty's mask, we usually know, we're going into the season, we're throwing ideas around. And, the design process will be over probably a period of 2 or 3 weeks. And the actual paint part of it would probably be about 5 days, depending on the complexity of the mask.
So is there actually masks on the cutting room floor that you produced and it wasn't exactly what he was thinking? Like, is there a bunch of masks that are half done up to that point, or it doesn't even get to there?
No, it doesn't get to
more in the design.
Yeah, okay. It's all paper design and stuff like that. And I like to say no matter every mask that we design, we always go back to my first concept anyways, but he'll have something to say about that.
So that leads us into the one that, well, we haven't gotten a chance to see him wear it this year yet, but just looking at the picture of it, just beautiful. It's got the Grant Fear aspect, obviously the great tribute to Joey Moss on the back, but sort of how did the vision start and how did the design end up looking the way it does?
With the unfortunate passing of Joey last year, I was speaking to Smitty, we'll speak once or twice a week or whatever like that. But as soon as that had happened, he said to me, he goes, right off the start, we're going to be doing a tribute to Joey Moss. We have to figure that onto the mask. And then as we got closer to the season, he came back to me. So a couple of years ago, or maybe about 5 years ago, when he was playing with the Coyotes, we used to have this one design that the Coyote was wrapped around the mask in animated goalie equipment and stuff like that. And he said to me, he goes, I want to go back to that. That same feeling, that same idea. And at the same time, I want to sort of, throw a shout out to Grant Fuhrer. So then that's when we came up with sort of the rough concept of where, he chose the mask, which Grant Fuhrer mask that he wanted sort of to be symbolized on the front of the mask. And then I looked through various images and we chose the actual setup that he was wearing when he had that mask on. So the color pattern and all that matches the actual mask that we painted on there. So it was a lot of fun, that piece. Absolutely.
So for Mike, I see you like the Alice Cooper mask when he was in Phoenix. How many masks have you made for him?
You know what? I couldn't tell you, honestly. Okay. I don't keep account. Many people have asked me this, and I should go back to my records and look. I wouldn't be surprised if we're over 30 masks at this point here. And going back to the Alice Cooper thing, that was actually, and he will totally give me credit for that, because I said to him, because I found out that Alice was a regular fan at the Coyotes game, and I said to Smitty, I said, listen, why don't we do a shout out to Alice Cooper? He goes, well, you wanted to put his name on the back? And I said, no, I'm going to put his face on there. And he's like, no way, we ain't doing that. And fortunately, I'm the last say on what's happening on these masks. And so it was sent down. I got a text from him just before the game, and he was pretty pissed. It was funny. And at the same time, I was actually flying out to, I think it was LA or something like that. So it was a 4-hour flight. And by the time I landed, my phone had blown up with requests for interviews, like TMZ, who never covers hockey or whatever like that. They asked for interviews and stuff like that. So I think my point was taken, and Smitty trusts me pretty well now these days.
One of the other cool projects that I'm looking at on your Instagram here is the Hub City Mural. How did that kind of come together? And I mean, it's a fascinating piece of artwork as well. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, no, as mentioned, I've worked with the NHL for the better part of 20 plus years now, and I have my program called the LMX, which is the Live Mural Experience. So what they wanted to do was, with it being such a unique event, and hopefully we never have to do that again, they wanted to celebrate it where we created a mural around all the Western teams with their captains. So I was in there probably about 10 days, 4 of which was in quarantine, and thank God for Sons of Anarchy and all those other things, because I'm going to blow my head off there. So then I painted over the period of 6 days, and I was right at the front of the entrance to the arena, to the Rogers Center there inside the building. And the team is always past me every day. And I know a lot of these guys. So it was fun when they would come up, and especially when I'm painting the actual captains. And you got Landeskog coming in, he photobombed me during an interview. All the guys were having a lot of fun with that piece. And, it was just a great piece. It was just so much fun to do. And the guys got a kick out of seeing it come together. And it was great socially for the NHL as well. If you go to my website, you can actually see the video of the creation of the mural that the NHL did.
That website, by the way, davidarigo.com, David, ARRIGO.com. So you're obviously, safe to say, you're a pretty big hockey fan. Have you been enjoying the start of the season here?
It's been good. You know what? It's actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I wasn't sure what to expect. I was really excited about having the Canadian conference. I think this is fantastic. And again, I wasn't sure about what the thoughts, how my feelings would be about each team playing themselves 10 times over the period. But you know what? I think it's going to make us for some really exciting stuff, some exciting hockey. Before you ask me who's my favorite team and all that, we're not going there, as I work and I am, whoever. That's it. But no, really excited about it. There's some really good things we've been seeing, and I think it's going to start getting pretty ratcheted up pretty soon.
Can you give us a teaser of what's coming up next in your world? Is there anything you're working on right now in the NHL?
For the NHL, we've got a few programs that are coming up. I'm working with one of their partners, Jagermeister, where we're going to be a bunch of unique items that will be used on social media for just to drum up attention and stuff like that. There's a few programs coming down the road, and as well as Smitty's second mask will be on the road pretty soon too.
So I got a question about, let's just say a guy was coming up on his 10-year anniversary and he wanted to get his wife a pair of custom shoes, but wanted to buy her some nice white Nike shoes. And it was a guy, let's say his name was Chris Chalmers, and he wanted to commission them from you with a custom design. A, is that possible? And two, I don't know if you'll answer this one, but like, what is something like that going to run a brother?
Hey, nothing like catching me on live video here. Sure.
You don't have to answer the price thing. You can DM me later. But seriously, I looked at the shoes, they're amazing. They're like what football players, like you've done a lot of stuff for the CFL players, I've noticed. And like every week I see what kind of NFL players are doing with their shoes, and I want a pair. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. And I'm just wondering if a guy like me can get them from you. Like if I DM'd you or something, like I'm just public.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do a lot of work outside of pro leagues. I've worked with the NFL, NASCAR, the NHL, MLB for many, many years. And at the same time, I do a lot of work for private commissions. I absolutely do that. As it goes for pricing, just like with anything, it all depends on what you're looking on, design, concept. Like it can start at like, $700-800 and go from there, all depending on what you're looking for.
This sounds awesome.
David,
a pair of like really outrageous ones. Anyway, sorry.
David, this interview was awesome, man. It was really cool to chat with you and kind of get a look into this world of sports artwork. Appreciate the time.
No problem.
One more question. Who'd you make the Slimer Oilers mask for? Who was that for?
The Slimer. Okay, that was Boston Pizza.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It was a corporate deal that we did. It was designed by kids. It was a design and mask contest. Like I've done the Hockey Canada design and mask contest for probably about 11, 12 years now.
Oh, wow. And
I'm fortunate enough to actually do all the Hockey Canada helmets this year, where we celebrated women's hockey, which was a lot of fun too. Part of the Jane Foods all-in program. It was really, really awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's great. Perfect. Thanks for your time, David. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
You too. Oh, man. There you go. It's David Arrigo. It's cool stuff.
Just doing his anniversary shopping during an interview. Not a big deal.
Hey, how much do I have to pay you for a pair of shoes?
Dude, have you never wondered how much one of those masks costs in an NHL goaltender?
Chalmers, I respect it. It's a very efficient use of time.
Yep.
There was like the timing. If we would have been on him with him for another 10 minutes, I want to know, like, is he airbrushing these things? Is it like a layered thing? I know I could watch a YouTube video of it, but not every day you get a guy that actually does it and does it for, Canadian hockey goalies and Canadian like CFL players. So, man, they were cool. I was looking up some of his stuff, and he's got some impressive stuff.
Yeah. Jeez, this guy's done a lot of work. It's impressive. Good get your M-Chuck. I think that's a good type of guest to bring on and hear some more content and backstories about these talented individuals doing things like this. So I was,
I'm a little disappointed in you, JR and Bag Milk, that you didn't ask him what the hell's wrong with Smith.
It's a knee problem.
Well, you don't. That's like attorney-client confidentiality. Yeah. You don't want to. Trust me, it entered my mind.
Your M-Chick? Like it's a knee problem. What do you know? What do you know?
Gregor's speculating it's a knee problem. Gregor's heard it's a knee issue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm telling you, the old boy got out of bed weird. He twisted it up, and now he's on the shelf.
I've always said tall guys, skinny legs, they don't last. Just kidding.
That's in football. That's your football.
That is my football thing. Wide receivers and quarterbacks with skinny legs, they never last.
That's why I don't play football.
Start working your legs.
But yeah, that was a cool chat. Like it all started kind of like he said 20 years ago, painting something for Gretzky, and like it's cool how his career sort of evolved from there. And if you go to his website, I'll plug it again here. David Arrigo. Oh, he's already DM'd me. he's already emailed me and said that was a ton of fun. Would love to hop on again. So maybe we'll do that when Mike Smith's new mask comes out. But his website, David Arrigo, ARRIGO.com. You go on there and like the amount of stuff he's done, Olympic Games, Invictus Games, like all this stuff. He did World Juniors. We talked about the bubble. He's done stuff for Gretzky, for Ovechkin, All-Star Games, like super, super cool shit. Fascinating guy.
Chris Chalmers.
And he has soon to do a pair of shoes for Chalmers' anniversary present.
I'm getting a pair of those shoes, man. Like I've always wondered how those guys I don't know. The only thing that I could have ever thought of to go get a pair of shoes like that was to go to like somebody who does custom paint jobs or like bike jobs where they do like airbrushing.
Yeah.
Now I know a guy, and I swear to God, I'll have those shoes within a year. And I just don't know what design I would get. It's like a tattoo. It's got to be the right thing. And the only reason I never get tattoos is because I can never decide what the hell I want.
So now you know that it's going to be $700-800. Are those going to be for you, or are they going to be for Mrs. Chalmers?
You know what you should do?
Probably me.
You should just send him
I'll get one of each.
And then it can be like a little piece of artwork, right? Put it in like a shadow box. You get one of each.
Yeah, I don't see me wearing them. That's for sure. Like,
I'd imagine.
One to rock.
Yeah. And then they have to be the perfect shoes because those white like cleats that football players wear are the perfect shoes because there's lots of flat white canvas on them. So I'm thinking they're going to have to be a pair of like Nike. Like, I think I'm going to have to buy those custom white Nike high tops.
Yeah.
Or else the low tops that, yeah. Oh, fun. I got something to think about now. Something to design.
Chalmers is going to be up to like wee hours in the morning, like sketching shit out on.
I guarantee I'm going to go over the $800 mark though, because I'm going to be a pain in the ass to deal with because I have no idea how to do that kind of stuff. Design
investment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If this podcast had its own pair of shoes, what kind of stuff would be on there? You know what? Maybe we got to get Twig and Berries a custom pair of shoes, or maybe this is a good segue. We get Twig and Berries to start doing custom nutsack underwear for people. Huh?
Or Oilers Nation Twig and Berries collab sweatpants.
The sweatpants would be cool at Twig and Berries.
The sweatpants, man, we've needed sweatpants my entire career at the Nation. We need fucking sweatpants.
Right. So, but with shoes, he's working on a leather surface. With a mask, he's working on I don't even know what it is. Acrylic. Like, I don't know what the surface of a mask is. I have no idea.
Mask.
But we're talking sweatpants. Like, he'd have to make like a design, and then you'd have to go to.
Chalmers, this has now turned into an ad read for Twig and Berries. twigandberries.ca. Home of nutsack underwear, no judgment, no shaming, no fancy words, just real men. Use the promo code NATION15 for 15% off. Chalmers, you're talking about anniversary presents. How about you go pick up the Getting Lucky threesome? It's $50 right now, twigandberries.ca, a red pair of nutsack underwear, a red nutsack long sleeve shirt, and a pair of love themed socks, Huh? Perfect for anniversaries, Valentine's Day.
We're already past our 10-year anniversary, so I was just using that as a crutch to get hit to really get in his graces to say, I'd like to do something for something special like that. So
you were hoping to get it comped. You'd hoping he'd be like, hey, well, for this podcast, anything.
Yeah.
Now he'll listen back to this and know that it was not at all for the wife, but really for you.
100%. Yeah. Not for her. She wouldn't give a shit about a pair of shoes like that. I sure would, though. It'd be like the time I bought her a PlayStation 4 because I told her we needed a Blu-ray DVD player. So I bought her that for Christmas. I bought her a Blu-ray DVD player, but it was really a PlayStation 4 for myself.
My dad, it's sort of like that, but not really. My dad loves like hockey memorabilia, hockey artwork and all that stuff. And one year, I remember it too, because I would have been, it was like immediately after the 2010 Olympics. So I would have been like 13, 14 years old. And we were in like an art shop, and he saw this picture of Sidney Crosby, and it was like a painting by Stephen Holland. So it's like a really cool, like oil painting kind of thing. And my dad's like looking at it, humming and hawing. Fast forward to Christmas that next year, and he opens up a present under the tree, and he's like, "Oh wow, this whole fucking painting." And you can tell my mom is pissed, but I had younger cousins over all that stuff. So it's like a younger crowd. And my dad just looks at my mom. He's like, "Hey, Santa brought it for me. What are you going to say?" And my mom just could not say anything about this fucking expensive ass painting my dad got, because he just sat there and looked at her and was like, "Hey, Santa brought it. What do you want?" It was great. It's a baller move.
Yeah, it is a baller move. Heady play.
How much hockey you guys been watching this year? Like, has anyone been paying attention to much outside of the Oilers? My favorite part about the first week of the NHL season is that the center ice package is free. And I don't buy the center ice package during the year. So like for the last week, I've been pretty much watching every single game I can get my eyes on. It's been fucking unreal.
Okay, I didn't know that. So that's good to know. So do you get that from your regular cable provider? Because last night I had a 3-team parlay that was dependent on the Minnesota Wild holding on to their victory. And with 5 minutes left, I had gotten home and I wanted to turn it on. But of course, the only game on was the Vancouver,
Montreal.
Who the hell? Montreal game.
Yep.
And I didn't even know that. So you can get it from your cable provider. You can just go get NHL Center Ice, or do you have to go online?
No, it's from your cable provider. So Game Center and Center Ice are like two different things. But yeah, Center Ice, if I click the button on my remote that says sports, it'll like throw up all the games and it'll always say like Center Ice.
I don't use that enough.
But yeah, I've been watching a ton. Just a ton of hockey. And you know what? Who's really impressed me? I wasn't sure how the Pietrangelo thing would work out in Vegas, but that team is a fucking wagon, man. Like they are deep up front. Robin Leonard is still looking good. Fleury's one of the better backups going right now. And that blue line is just a beast, man. With Theodore and Pietrangelo, they have 2 number 1 D-men. And there are not very many teams that can say they have 1 number 1 defenseman. Never mind 2. So Vegas, I've been loving watching Vegas so far.
How is that sustainable? How is that roster sustainable?
Well, it's barely sustainable now, right? And that's the problem. Like you go on Puckpedia, and if you dig through all the teams, you'll find a handful that are kind of in cap hell. But like Vegas, for a team that got to start with a blank slate and was not in cap hell, they've dug themselves into that spot quickly. And granted, they're winning. They have a hell of a roster. They've gotten guys like Stone and Pacioretty and Pietrangelo. They got Theodore signed long-term. They got Lehner now, like all that stuff. But right now they got $300,000 in cap space. Like it's not great.
Well, they don't need anymore. Like their roster's so legit.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting stuff done, Tyler, I was setting up your weekly rumors roundup that's going up at Oilers Nation here right away. What is the thing you wrote about Nuge? Explain this to me, please.
So Frank Saravalli every year does his yearly bold predictions. And in his bold predictions for this season, he said that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins will become the number 1 free agent on TSN's free agent list when free agency opens. So his prediction was that Nuge is going to become a free agent. And the day he released that, actually, he did a hit on TSN 1260. And he kind of said Edmonton's been very, very firm in the negotiations, telling Nuge they're not going above 7. Like they are not spending more than $7 million a year on him. And Frank was just kind of wondering, like, if Edmonton's firm there, he wonders if Nuge doesn't just go, you know what, I can get a better deal on the open market. And he said Nuge wants to stay in Edmonton. All the players on that team love him and want him to stay. The organization wants to keep him, but he just wondered if maybe there's a fracture in terms of how much each side kind of values him. And if Nuge, like, what if Seattle sits there after the expansion draft and they can sign Nugent-Hopkins for 5 years, $8.5 million a year, like just a crazy big contract. And like, how could he say no to that? Right. And I think that was kind of where Frank was coming from, was like, there are going to be teams in a really good spot potentially to give him money to be a number 1 center, not just be the guy who's riding shotgun with McDavid or Draisaitl. So I think that's kind of where Frank was going with that point.
But then I also see that Elliot Friedman is saying that they could be close on an extension.
But then Friedman kind of ends his point by saying they've been close since the offseason. So the tone I think I got from the Friedman one was, you know, Friedman says they've been close since whenever, October, November. How come it's not done yet? And again, like that almost leads me to be a little concerned. Like, are they truly just waiting and they're going to say, hey, for this season, just focus on playing hockey. We'll get a deal done at some point. Or is it like
in October, November, we had no idea whether there was even going to be a season. So I completely understand why negotiations on a new extension would break down at that point.
Yeah, potentially.
They were going to be withholding. They didn't know what the cap was like. There was a lot of unknowns at that point of the calendar year.
Yeah, and negotiations really, from everything we've heard, haven't picked back up yet. Like, I'm not concerned. I said it in my rumors blog that, like, I think this gets done at some point. And for me, I love Nuge, not as much as you love Nuge, Bag Milk, but I love the Nuge. So I have
played like shit last night. What do you think about that?
Yeah, he's been up and down to start the year, but
He's having a rough start. Nugent's starting slow for sure.
It was a very preseason game for Nuge last night. He was double clutching on shots. He wasn't in the right spot at times. He was mishandling the puck. He didn't look right last night.
I would have no problem. I would give Ryan Nugent Hopkins 7 years. I think he's durable enough. I think he's the kind of guy who can be productive into his mid-30s. I have no problem going 7 years with him. And you know what? If it brings the AAV down, I would almost go 8 years with Ryan Nugent Hopkins. Because you got to remember the most he could get on the open market is 7 years from another team, right? So if
That's
another team
legitimately keeping him forever,
hell yeah, man,
definitely be keeping him forever.
But I know that you guys think that even if he comes out and says I want to be here, you guys probably underestimate the feeling of change. Things have not been great while he's been here, and just the idea of going somewhere else, that's what scares me the most about him. And it is the minute you get in your mind that you're making a change in some way, or you're doing something and you get kind of excited about it, it's really hard to turn that off, right? So if the longer this goes, don't you think that the more chance that he starts to think that way, especially if this season isn't successful? That's my fear.
I don't know. For me, I look at that and kind of go, you're hearing everything that he doesn't want to leave. He's interested in signing here in Edmonton, and he's been through so much shit here that you could also spin that as he wants to see it through. He wants to eventually have the sort of finality of winning here in Edmonton.
And also, if word on the street is let's just follow the Seattle thing through, does he really want to go to an expansion team?
And the only teams that could really afford to give him a lot of money are teams that are not contending.
Bad.
So
yeah. I mean, I hope I was looking at the graphic from last night's game, and you see that it's, on what they put the three best players on the team, right? And you see that on the Toronto side, it's Matthews, it's Tavares, and it's Marner. And then on our side, it's Nuge, Draisaitl, and Connor McDavid, and Nuge is the big guy. He's at the top, right? And I'm just I hope that he feels like he can be part of this. I don't know. I would need to see that was going to happen, that it was going to happen. Because if I was playing for the Oilers the last 5 years, I'd have been a little discouraged at this point.
Sportsnet tweeted last night, Ryan Nugent Hopkins has 44 points, now 45 points, 17 goals and 28 assists in his last 35 games since December 31st, 2009. That is the fifth most points in the NHL. So where is he going to get a chance to play with either Connor or Leon?
Yeah. I know.
He's made his bank. I'm looking at Puckpedia right now. The guy's got shit tons of money in the bank already.
And he's going to sign. If he signs with us, it's going to be for a shit ton more money. And we are positioning to have our window open up. So may as well stay with the devil, and plus that Connor McDavid as well driving the bus. It's probably wise to stay with us.
Well, that's what I'm thinking too. Even all of us are saying Nuge isn't playing his best right now. I think we all agree on that, but he still has 4 points in 5 games.
Oh yeah, a lot of players aren't. That's hilarious. Well, that's coming off the back of that one game, I think. But a lot of players aren't playing their best. We're that. That's the thing that's so funny about this is the Oilers are not playing nowhere near to their potential. It's not that we need them to play above their potential to win hockey games. We just need them to play somewhat normal to their potential, and they are not.
We need them to play like they all know what they're doing together. Because right now it looks like there's a whole bunch of people doing different things at the same time, and it is frustrating to watch. There's no continuity between this team right now.
But that's the positive too, though, Chalmers. That's a positive too because they're
see how
playing
you look at it that way.
Right, they just once they just make tweaks and just start being normal again. We're not asking them to be above their normal abilities. Just get back to normal and just see the damage we're able to do. So I don't think we should be concerned. Muckety muck last night, pull off the win. Who cares? We're still in preseason mode, knocking off the rust and figuring out our fucking rhythm because there is no rhythm right now.
I just don't think in 56 game season that you have that much time to do that. And that's my worry. And you're basically saying that, look, yes, the upside, they tweak a few things and they step on it and they're going to be a totally different team. but they have to do that still, right? Like you can say that, but if we find ourselves 12 games in and they're 6-6, you're still going, they've been the same team for now, 15% of the season to start. And it's like, they're 20,
power play question for everybody.
Yeah, the power play just needs to improve. But the beauty, and plus we need to fucking be able to pass. But like the beauty about this Canadian division and how the NHL is because every game's a 4-point game. But like all you have to do is just get hot at the right time. If it takes a little bit longer to figure it out, get hot at the right time and just start winning games in consecutive fashion and just start going on a heater, which is if they're gelling, they will be able to do in this division. And it's all about getting hot at the right time. If they heat up in the second half, like that's an ideal situation. Then they're going to go into the playoffs rolling and then, see what kind of damage they could create. But you're right. We can't create too much of a hole right now. So hopefully last night was kind of a step in that right direction. Gross game, but we got the W. So hopefully that's just building the confidence and getting that flow back and removing all this double guessing and second and double pumping and all this type of shit that we're seeing when these guys get at the puck, because you can actually see them thinking sometimes, and you can't have that. Everything's got to be natural reaction, and it's all within them. So I just
Hey Jay,
I'm not worried.
Ask Scott what he thinks about last night's game.
Scott Hastings from OddsShark joins us now on the Real Life Podcast. Resident Leafs fan.
I'll gladly ask Scott two things: what he thought about last night's game and how he thought the Browns game went from a betting against the spread perspective.
Where do you want me to start? You want me to start with a team that gets outplayed for 3 periods but manages to get a win, or
no? Let's start with the Browns then.
Okay, we'll go there then. Yeah. No, I thought the Browns played quite well. Despite some people dragging them down about Patrick Mahomes being injured, and that's the only reason it was close. I call BS on that. I thought the Browns played a respectable game. They were a little outmatched, as we probably all knew going into that game, but they hung in there and covered. So that's all we can ask for if you're a backer of the Browns.
And the team you say got outplayed last night, but still managed to walk away with 2 points. I take it you were, for me, my favorite part was that the Oilers were plus 325 on the puck line, and I cashed that. But not a big fan of your Leafs last night?
No, I thought Toronto played very well. I think the big thing that I've watched or noticed from the Leafs is the problem in in nets. I think Freddie has let them down a little bit, where they will control the puck offensively for large chunks of time and look like they're really controlling the game. Then the puck will naturally come back to their defensive zone, and you look for that big stop, and it's just not been there. So that's part of the game, I guess. I actually had the Oilers, so. From a betting perspective, I was happy with the result, but performance-wise, I thought the Leafs probably should have won that game. But hey, we'll take it for our bankroll. Hey.
Okay, so to try to get in the mind of somebody who does this, is a sharp at this. They were obviously the underdog yesterday. What made you think that? Why did you go with the Oilers? I also did, but why did you?
That's classic Leafs. I've watched them so many times that, when they played Ottawa on the Friday night there, that was automatic. They came off a close game with Montreal. Ottawa hadn't played yet. I was like, Leafs are going to lay a dud. That's just what they do. I think they got Calgary on Saturday or Sunday. They'll probably lose that game. It's just what Toronto does. But then they play again tomorrow night. Here. Toronto and Edmonton play on Friday. And I could see Toronto winning that one and covering on the puck line. So it's just one of those things that the Leafs will do that. They'll lay those eggs that they shouldn't lose. And it's part of the North Division. That's going to be lots of fun.
It's funny being Oilers fans and Leafs fans talking about this together, because we've just all been hurt so many times before.
Yes, exactly.
I know. On the other side of it, we could have said if the Oilers lost, well, because that's just what the Oilers do. They go down to Toronto and they lose.
Yeah, exactly.
So listen, it feels good to be here. We could be on the other end of this 5 times, having this exact same conversation 5 times each, where we're feeling this way.
Yeah.
Well, I thought those were the two best teams in the North Division. I thought Toronto and Edmonton would be 1-2 in some fashion. So, why not take the dog in the first shot and see what comes out of that? And it paid off. So we'll see how this plays out over 10 games. But I thought there was large chunks of the game that Toronto looked absolutely remarkable. And they've done this almost every game this through 5 games, that there's large chunks of offensive opportunities, and they're starting to cycle the puck like I've never seen a Leafs team do, it blows my mind. But then they'll give up an issue in their own defensive zone, and that's puck ends up being in the back of the net. So I don't know.
From a betting perspective, Scott, what are you seeing early in the season, since there was no preseason abbreviated training camp? I find that the scores are a little bit higher than maybe what would be normal. What are you seeing from a betting perspective?
Yeah. We are seeing a lot of overs, but then I find that there's the games that I would have been leaning towards an over or under, it's sort of been the inverse of what I've been expecting. Sort of like Detroit. Detroit's been hitting the over pretty good, and that's a team that I figured we're going to make sloppy, slow type games that would play towards the under. So I've had a little bit of a difficult time trying to judge these, because the teams that I expected to play a little slower have been playing the opposite. So it's a little tricky, and maybe that's just a little bit of them prepped for the short season and coming out flying. Or maybe I just misjudged them.
Sticking with the NHL here, when you look at a game, like for me, I've been burned probably 3 times already this year going for the puck line when I probably should just take the freaking money line. But when there's puck line, regulation line, and then the money line as well, how do you differentiate between the 3 when you're looking at a matchup? Or are you a guy that's just always, hey, I'll stick with the money line and that's it?
Yeah, well, I think that's a good thing about hockey as opposed to basketball and football, is that nobody takes the money line unless you're betting on a dog. But if you're betting on a favorite, you're not taking the money line in football. You look like a loser, even though maybe you should sometimes, -3, just take that out of it and take the money line. But nobody does that. You're a weirdo. So that's the fun thing about hockey, is that the lines are not overinflated. Of course, you could get the Avalanche against the Kings at -200 if you wanted to do something like that. But as far as your general run-of-the-mill NHL game, you're going to get the favorite at between -140 and -160. So that's not an insufferable line to lay. So I'll play the money line, and if I really like it, I'll go with the dog. It's on the puck line. That's sort of the way I go about it. I don't really like the in regulation plays. I know it offers a little more juice, but it's just so many times you've been burned on just this a tie game that it's not worth, the juice isn't worth the squeeze in that sense. I'd rather just bring it to overtime, get the win or the shootout there.
Well, and to that effect, like there's a point in time that both teams play for the tie. Mm. Right. Yeah. So they're playing against you. Right. So they just get into overtime, get the point, and then sort out the rest. Yeah. So that's a dangerous game. What do you think about like doing the sprinkle? Like if you're like betting maybe like a unit on money line and then maybe like a quarter or half unit on the puck line or something like that as a strategy.
Yeah. So that is actually one of the things I usually do again, if I really like the matchup, if I'm not certain, but I'm watching the game, so I got to play something. I'll just stick with the money line. But if it's something I firmly like and I'm betting because I have a good feel, I will do the 1.5. So I'll do a full, and again, it depends on the odds, but traditionally if we're looking in that -140, -160 range, I'll do a full unit on the money line and then a half unit on the puck line. But again, if that line is a little tighter, I might just stick with the money line. But typically that is a route that I go is throw in there and hope for the empty netter.
Let's take a look at the NFL coming up this weekend, championship weekend, and my Buffalo Bills, baby, they're humming along, and I'm loving it.
The best part about this is no matter what the Super Bowl is, it's going to be exciting.
Oh, yeah.
All 4 teams are so good, and there's different stories everywhere. This is the most, this is the best I've seen both championship games in a couple of years.
Let's start with the Bills-Chiefs matchup, Scott. Are sportsbooks assuming Patrick Mahomes is going to play when you look at the Chiefs being just -3 against Buffalo?
I think so. Yeah, I think that I do think that Patrick Mahomes will play. It sounds like that he wasn't knocked out, but rather choked out. I don't know. It's very bizarre.
So what they're saying is like a pinched nerve. So like if a nerve pinched like something and kind of cut the oxygen off to his brain, which made him wheezy, or look like he had a concussion. If you look at the film real slow motion, his helmet never hits the ground. His helmet slightly hits the linebacker's arm, and that's it. There's no way that was a concussion.
Yeah,
well,
it's very
get
peculiar.
a concussion from like whiplash, though, right? Like
at Crosby, right?
From the blow that hit.
Yes. Yeah, and in the Crosby one, I was actually going to say that because his concussion problems lasted for so long, and then it took, I don't even remember how long it was, months, and then when they realized it was a soft tissue neck injury, they had to fix like within 2 weeks. And I was like, how much are they paying you people not to figure this out? Like, seriously, if it wasn't concussions, could you not have looked at soft tissue issue at some point over those 8 months and save this guy's career a little more? But that's neither here nor there. I don't know what that situation is. He got up, he was a little wobbly, but if anyone here has ever been knocked out or put to sleep a little bit, you do get that little woozy feeling, even if it was a lack of oxygen rather than a blow to the head. So maybe it was just something odd that caught him, cut off the carotid artery there for a second, and he blacked out. I don't know, but I think fully well that he will be playing on Sunday.
So do you like the Bills or Chiefs with that spread?
Geez, the game's really, really tricky to me. I actually lean. I think the Bills cover. I don't know if they win outright. It's so tricky. It is. I think that game is going to be really tightly contested. I think it's going to be an under.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think that the Bills, what I really liked seeing from the Bills against Baltimore is anytime there was a completed pass, there was somebody to make the tackle immediately. And they need to do that against the likes of Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, that if they miss a tackle, they're burned. It's 6 points on the board, right? So I think seeing them, how tight they play defense, if they can do that with Kansas City, I don't think Kansas City puts up a lot of points. And on the flip side, Buffalo struggled to put points up last week. We're mid-January going into Arrowhead. I like the under on that one.
You got to think about Josh Allen and the road he will have to the Super Bowl if he makes it there. He will have taken out Phillip Rivers, Hall of Famer. He will have taken out Lamar Jackson and then Mahomes, and he'll be going against Brady or Rodgers. Like,
crazy.
It's incredible, man. Like, and so Josh Allen will be a hero. Like, that'll be unbelievable. So I don't know, man. I don't think he'll do it, but you're thinking under on this game. You're thinking not a lot of points scored.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And not necessarily not a lot of points scored, because the total is 53.5. So, we could still get, Tampa Bay, New Orleans played 30-20, and that would still hit on the under. Yeah. So not necessarily a low scoring game, but I do think that I liked what I saw from that Bills defense last week. Granted, it was Baltimore, and, their wide receivers aren't exactly as dangerous as Kansas City's. There was something that I was really liking. They were all playing full tilt. And if they can bring that same tenacity this week, I think they can hold Kansas City to a manageable number.
So a question, not about a specific game, but an over-under line. In my mind, I feel like a high over-under is like 54. Where do you put that threshold between a low-scoring game and a high-scoring game? Is that around like 48, 24 type of thing?
Yeah, no, I think anything above 50 is starting to get in that high. If you can get 30 points and still get on and under, I think that's starting to get in the range of being a high total.
Like
so anything north of 50.
Like the 39-9 game or whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly.
That didn't hit the over, even though the team scored 39 points.
Yeah, brutal. So yeah, anywhere it's like there. You said 54, and this total set at 53.5. I think for NFL, that's on the higher end of just a pregame total. Of course, was it Kansas City, New Orleans 2 years ago where the total was at 59? I took the alt over as high as you could, and it went to, I think, did they finish with over 100? I can't remember if they got to 100.
No, I don't remember now.
They were in the 90s for sure.
Scott, I know you don't like teasers, but let me run this by you. You teased the Bills up to +9 and under 59.5 points. Huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that hits on both sides.
Well, what does that pay? Like, sure,
minus
that
110.
Great, but what is something like?
Yeah, that's fine.
I love teaser bets. Okay, quickly here because we're running a little low on time. But Brady and the Bucks, Rodgers and the Packers getting that home game in the NFC Championship game. For me, I like the Packers in this one. I think what they did to a number one defense last week, and yes, the Bucks played good. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but Drew Brees, Jared Cook, all those turnovers really are kind of the reason the Bucks were able to win that game. I don't think Aaron Rodgers makes the same mistakes. I'm going with the Packers. What about you, Scott?
Yeah, I'm with you. If I was to go with my favorite play this weekend, now that has blown up in my face recently, last couple of weeks. So, maybe tail this or fade this, take Tampa Bay. But I do like Green Bay to win and cover in this one. I think they're the more cohesive unit. And we've just seen Tampa Bay. They've gotten on a little bit of a streak here, and maybe it's all about peaking at the right time. I just don't think they're as good as Green Bay. And that's secondary for Tampa Bay. They had some leaky moments in that first half. They came up sharp in the second half, and that's what led to their victory. But that first half was a little touch and go at times. So if they come out like that first half, Aaron will pick them apart. And I like the Packers to move on to the Super Bowl.
I think at this point he's just on another level. He's coming up to the line. They got cameras on his face. He looks at the defense and starts smiling. He is playing a different ball game right now, and I don't think that the Bucks, as much as I want to see the story, because I love stories in sports, and Brady winning a Super Bowl, or going to a Super Bowl after beating Brees and Rodgers, and then playing Mahomes, and that is ultimate Peyton Manning style swan song. Even though he doesn't want to retire, I think that might be too good to be true. He might just have to be doesn't get better than that, But that's what I mean. I think Rodgers. I got Green Bay, and even minus the 3.5. I think it's not going to be close.
I'm going heavy. Don't judge me. I'm going money line, but I'm going parlay though. I'm going heavy on Green Bay, Buffalo money line parlay.
Whoa!
Okay.
Bills, eh? I got
Packers, Chiefs, and I don't think there's any other right answer.
You got to believe in the Bills Mafia, man.
I don't know if I have the stomach to bet on my Bills this weekend, man. I'm on pins and needles already, and we're 70 some hours away from kickoff. I'm nervous already.
But if you do and they win, how much better do you feel?
Or I'm just going to be double upset and out money.
Well, whatever.
Yeah. That's the emotional hedge.
Yeah.
Emotional hedge is you bet on Kansas City.
I can't do that either.
What are you willing to lose to see your team win? That's what Joe Gallant always says. What are you willing to lose to see your team win?
Oh, man, I've never been one for the emotional hedge either. I either bet on my favorite team or I don't touch it and I just enjoy the game anyways. Scott, you enjoy the games this weekend. I'm hoping that I think next week, since there'll be no NFL, we should start some sort of NFL pick'em pool. We need to get something going to get more picks going on the podcast, but I'll let you know about that. Thanks for your time today, Scott.
I got an idea. Before the Super Bowl, I think we should all do one of those Super Bowl prop sheets and post them. The ones that you print out for a party where you under on the anthem, everything like that. I say we do a podcast wide one of those, the five of us.
I like
We're gonna have one.
Oh, there you go.
You're gonna have one. Let's do it. Yeah, absolutely.
OddsShark,
yours.
Beautiful. OddsShark's got everything you need.
Quick prop before I go. Austin Matthews over 3.5 or 4.5 shots. It's 4-1 so far this year.
Wow.
I played it all last year. It was 32 and 8 and towards the back half of the season. So it's one of my favorite parlay you can put it as a parlay booster, but yes, just a little prop. Typically they move the line up to over 4.5, but he's been automatic and he's getting over 20 minutes of ice. It's a great prop.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Enjoy the hockey. Enjoy the football this weekend, man.
Hell yeah, fellas. Good luck. Enjoy.
There you go. It's Scott Hastings from OddsShark.com. Everything you need to make the sharper pick, OddsShark.com. They got articles from their experts. They got the supercomputer. They have all the betting line information you need. Also at the top there, sportsbooks you can trust as well. Good stuff from Scott Hastings and the folks at OddsShark.com.
Don't forget that he'll also call you fellers.
Fellers. I like that. He's an East Coast guy.
I loved it too. Oh, I know. Scott's a good dude.
All right. Well, those Oilers, man, 2-3, a win tomorrow in Toronto, and they will be right there for the top of the Canadian division. So big game should be a ton of fun. My pregame podcast, Bet of the Game. Remember all those times you guys said fade Yaremchuk? It's 4-1 to start the year. Look at that.
Ooh.
What was your bet?
I gotta get off. I am riding the Barry Point train, and it's not coming into the station.
So how about this, Bag Milk, for this analysis I absolutely nailed on my pregame podcast? I said I didn't like going over 6.5 goals because I felt like the game, you know, if it was going to be high scoring, it might have been like 3-3 going into overtime, and then you wouldn't have hit that over. But I said I like the Oilers to bounce back and finally get their offense going. So I took Oilers over 2.5 goals scored as my pick of the game, and it nailed it with that empty netter.
Wow. Good man.
Nice.
You really hit your puck line. How much do you love Josh Archibald today?
Oh,
I just love
happy.
Josh Archibald, the way he sunk that empty netter too. He fucking ripped that thing in.
Ripped it.
Quick question for you guys. I know obviously you guys each have something that you do every game day. I know where Bag Milks is. It's Instagram. After the game, the BCast. I'm on this podcast with you guys, and I don't know where and when to find the pregame show, the pre-pregame show that you and Josh Park do, JR, and the one that Remchuk does. So why don't you just tell everybody where that is? Because there's got to be more people like me that just don't know.
Fuck, you know what, Chalmers? Thank you for interviewing. If there's one thing we're terrible at is promoting ourselves.
100%.
So
I don't even know where to get it. I'm on the damn podcast.
So one thing I really want to strongly encourage our audience do is to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So the Nation Network YouTube channel, please subscribe to that. Yes, we do. The Nation Network YouTube channel. Yeah, exactly. Well, your reaction is exactly why we need to start talking about it more. So please subscribe to that. So anything video work that we create gets posted up on there, including the pregame show. Your Remchuk, your podcast. What time? How soon before puck drop do you get your podcast out?
I always try to get it out at least 4 hours before puck drop, and you just got to go on Apple, Spotify, and search Oilers Nation pregame podcast with Tyler Yaremchuk, or just Oilers Nation pregame podcast. It'll probably pop up. And hit subscribe.
Hit subscribe and then follow us on our social channels, Chalmers. We push everything out through our social channels to try to drive the audience over to consume that. It works to some degree, but yeah, I know it'd be great to get some more subscribers. Tyler does a great job. He's making you money right now if you listen to him.
We're up 2 units on the air.
Subscribe, rate, and review, everybody. Come on. Support this thing.
Yep. Preach, Chalmers. All right. Well, make sure you subscribe and review.
Get me paid so I can get my new shoes.
Yes, Chalmers needs his new shoes.
Oh, yeah. Maybe subscribe to this podcast, too.
I do.
That wasn't a shot at you. That's to the audience. Maybe we should talk about this podcast.
And leave a review.
ON Radio, though.
You can subscribe to both of them. There's time in everyone's week to listen to all the content we do, Chalmers.
I love you, Bag Milk. I'm just kidding.
Second biggest hockey podcast in India, buddy.
All right.
Hey, number one in Peru over here.
Episode 249 of the Real Life Podcast, brought to you by Oodle Noodle and Twig and Berries. Remember, proceeds from in-store and curbside pickup orders at Oodle Noodle go right back to local charities, which is a great, great cause. And Twig and Berries, 15% off with the promo code NATION15. Shout out to David Arrigo. Find him, www.davidarrigo, that's Arrigo with 2 R's.com. And also our friend Scott Hastings from OddsShark. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the Oilers game, everyone. Episode 249 of the Real Life Podcast is over.
Great job on making it through the entire hour of the Real Life Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from.